This is going to be keeper on the road videos. I'm going to touch on a couple of subjects and hopefully you'll find them interesting and amusing. Now on to the topic. One of the things I'm going to talk about today is the recent stuff on social media I saw about banning HPA players from a couple of fields. Now, I know like this is a hot topic for certain people, but the reasons that I keep hearing about why they're banning HPA players, and I should clarify, I'm talking about HPA fusion engine players. Now, you can tap HPA, you can tap high pressure air pistols. Let me rephrase that. You can tap pistols to use high pressure air. You can tap sniper rifles like the M700, my KCO2. I have a couple of old World War II sniper rifles. And the most you get out of that is a consistency on the shot-to-shot from the gun, the replica, and you can adjust the PSI. That's the only thing you get out of that. What I'm talking about is a fusion engine. Polar Star, Wolverine F1, F2, all the different versions that you can adjust your rate of fire, you can adjust your rounds, 3-round burst, 5-round burst, whatever kind of burst. I'm talking about those type of guns that are being banned. So let's start out with the reasons that I'm hearing. And one of the things I hear is, number one, is they're overshooting. Well, think about it this way. These any gun can be set up for a high rate of fire. Now, granted, that's a little tougher on an AEG, but for like a Polar Star, it's a setting. The thing is, if the field has a rate of fire limit of like 20, 25 rounds a second, that can be addressed, okay? And overshooting can be done by AEGs as well as HPA players, HPA fusion engine players. I would not say that is a point to like knock the players down. Overshooting occurs when once a person is dead, you keep shooting at them. Now, that's another thing too, which goes back to field rules, refereeing, things like that, staff. You set the rate of fire on the field, and you set the type of situation that occurs when you get hit. Like certain fields, you're supposed to yell out hit, put your hand in the air, put your gun in the air, pull out a dead rag, things like that. If the person isn't following that procedure, that could be why they're getting shot, overshot, what they consider overshot. And a Polar Star that's shooting 20 rounds a second is the same as most guns shooting 20 rounds a second. I don't see a difference between the two. I saw a new Classic Army AEG came out, was shooting 22 rounds a second. That particular gun would be outlawed on a couple of fields. They'd be restricted to semi because their FPS, their rate of fire is too high. So it's not necessarily a Polar Star fusion engine type problem. Two, they're actually saying about like the trigger response. It might also be overshooting, but the speed trigger, like what I call trigger spam or paintball finger, when they take a single finger and they're shooting it like a paintball gun, or get an extended trigger and double tapping it like this to make it shoot almost as fast as some people's full auto. Now, working as a referee, I have seen this, that it is not necessarily only HPA fusion engine users. You can get somebody with a speed trigger, MOSFET setup, micro trigger switch, and I mean, they're just, it's just as fast as somebody's full auto. So, blaming the Polar Star users Polestar HPA Fusion users for that aspect, that's a mute point. It's an invalid argument that like they're shooting too fast. It comes back to refereeing and the field rules that they're not supposed to be doing that type of stuff. If there's a field rule like that and you have a referee that's on the ball, he can call people out for doing that. And once you have to sit out 2 or 3 times for trigger spamming, you won't do it again. Trust me, it works. Third thing that I saw was the guy said they shoot too hard. All right, let's go back to that. Unlike an AEG, you get some joule creep on an HPA compared to like a regular AEG. That's why fields need to have in their rule set that they chrono in joules. I think that takes away a lot of the problems. And I'll use an example. A local field I go to has a 400 with 2 5s FPS limit. But for HPA users, which is the 400 with 2 5s is 1.86 joules. But the HPA users have to be chronoed with 3 O's and have a 171 joule limit, which is basically 385 with 2 5s. This way, these people that are using these heavier BBs are saying like it's, they're shooting hot and things like that. And they're really not. The kinetic energy is up there because of the way the fusion engines and the HPA stuff is. But one gun is not shooting hot as hard as another. If you chrono in joules correctly, and this goes back to the field owner, referees, things like that, it's not a problem. So if they do it right, that argument is invalid as well. One of the things an actual HPA user said, he said, why don't we complain that AEG users have an unfair advantage because we're tethered to a hose to our gun? And I'm like, that's like turning the argument around. I have seen that, certain aspects of Polestar fusion engine types things have been banned on various fields out west, and they even have some fields I've seen that have separate games. If you're a Polestar user, I keep saying Polestar, but I meant HPA fusion engine user, you have to play like with a different group, which I think is nonsense. All right, I played with like groups of HPA users, AEG users, no problem. So I just don't see the argument that people have about having HPA guns at a field. Last point I'm going to do is that they said about Polestar fusion engine guys being assholes. Well, that's true with any replica. Somebody could have a gun and, point blank shoot people, overshoot people, just shoot people after they're dead. They could, AEG users could be assholes, gas blowback users could be assholes. That's not necessarily a Polestar fusion engine player trait. It happens in all aspects of the sport. And that comes back to the field owner and the referee. If they're watching for that type of behavior, they weed them out. And the field then gets to be known as a safe field. People have fun, they come back, they play, they enjoy the day. So the argument I keep seeing on social media about, they got to ban fusion engines and they have to because of all these different reasons, they're invalid. If the player plays within the rules and you have a system in place such as referees, spot chrono checks, things like that, to keep the players in that rule set, you never have a problem. Like always, though, this is a sport of honor, and if you play without honor and you just, overshoot people and, you be a regular dick about everything, you're going to get a rep. And a couple bad apples have spoiled it for other people. So when you hear that argument about, oh, HPA players, you know, like, oh, he's gonna ban HPA from this location. Think about the reasons why people want to ban them, and you'll find out that the reasons are invalid. So that's just my opinion. I'm sure people are going to have a lot of other opinions about this, but I hope you enjoyed the video. This has been Keeper on the Road.